The Last Jedi is the 8th film in the main Star Wars series, and the second installment of the so-called sequel trilogy. Written and directed by Rian Johnson, The Last Jedi is a poignant, beautiful, and consistently enthralling adventure, but the fumbled themes and some insubstantial character development were a bit of a letdown. The Rebel fleet, led by General Leia Organa, Carrie Fisher, is running out of time, pursued relentlessly by the First Order fleet and unable to escape to lightspeed. Rebellion agents Poe Dameron, Oscar Isaac, Finn, David Boyega, and Rose, Kelly Marie Tran, embark on a bold plan to save the rebellion. Meanwhile, the gifted Rey, Daisy Ridley, approaches the self-exiled Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, urging him to help the rebellion and teach her in the ways of the Force. Let me say right off the bat that The Last Jedi does an outstanding job of maintaining taut suspense. The film immediately establishes a clearly defined threat and sets up logical goals for the characters to pursue against this threat, thus driving the narrative forward. While the film frequently cuts to less dire scenarios, such as a whimsical escapade in an alien casino or Rey's personal introspection on Luke's island, we are constantly reminded of the almost certain destruction that awaits the Rebel fleet. The Last Jedi succeeds in keeping the tension high and holding our attention on the trapped, retreating rebels despite such a diversity of settings, tone, and filmmaking styles. The characters are all richly detailed and compelling, and the performances are universally excellent. Hamill brings a world-weary bitterness to the role of Luke Skywalker and can be downright intimidating at times. Fisher delivers a glorious final performance suffused with wisdom and conviction. To some degree, Fisher is playing herself more than Leia, but that's not a bad thing. Ridley and Adam Driver complement each other well as opposing figures in a state of reserved kinship. They both convey powerful determination and a somber, quiet desperation as their characters try to find their purpose and realize their potential. I've always liked Laura Dern, and it was great to see her in such a prominent role as Vice Admiral Holdo, who has a dignified, austere manner and may be hiding an ulterior motive. The action scenes are frenetic yet well choreographed and easy to follow, and The Last Jedi is almost certainly the best-looking Star Wars film, with a near-seamless blend of practical and digital effects and staggeringly colorful, vibrant visual design. I literally gasped during one scene of Rey and Kylo Ren's psychic conversations, in which a shaft of rainwater falling from the side of the Millennium Falcon is juxtaposed against a column of falling sparks in an indoor setting, thereby visually linking Rey and Kylo's respective perspectives. Going back to the casting for a moment, it was great to see such a diverse cast, with plenty of women and people of color playing substantive, decisive roles. Now onto the negatives. Rey's character growth is rather limited in The Last Jedi, with her journey serving far more to build upon Luke and Kylo's characters. Rey and Kylo's psychic bonding had a build-up full of pathos, guarded emotional intimacy, and some shocking twists about Luke's past, but a limp resolution. After coming to realize that Luke had pushed him to the dark side, and learning that Supreme Leader Snoke had been manipulating him for so long, Kylo kills Snoke and resolves to destroy the past in order to realize his full potential. But this feels for naught, as nothing really changes. After Rey refuses to join him, Kylo still wants to beat Rey, destroy the Jedi, and defeat the rebellion, just like before. Conversely, Rey does find greater strength in herself and becomes disillusioned with Luke after learning of how he tried to kill Kylo as a student, but remains as committed to helping the rebellion and saving her friends as ever, and still holds faith in the Force and the Jedi, as evidenced by her risking her life to appeal to Kylo's good side, stealing the ancient Jedi texts for safekeeping, and using the Force to release the rebels from the cave system on that mining planet. I'm not saying I wanted Rey to turn evil, but the film's morality feels very black and white when it was aiming for grey. Arguably, Luke undergoes the most development, as with Yoda's help he regains his faith in the Jedi and the good they can do, but this has the overall effect of simply having him meet our expectations, or to put it another way, fulfilling the past instead of subverting it. Both Rey and Kylo were heading in the same direction of rejecting the past and making themselves anew, but for all its great build-up, The Last Jedi's main characters don't really change. I quite like how The Last Jedi defied our myriad assumptions about Rey's origins. In the 2 years since the release of The Force Awakens, Star Wars fans had speculated on the identity of Rey's parents. Some people thought she must be Kylo's sister, making her Han Solo and General Leia's daughter and Luke's niece. Others suggested she might be the daughter or granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and some even wondered if she's a descendant of Emperor Palpatine. So I admire Rian Johnson's guts in making Rey an abandoned child of 2 nobodies on Jakku. Her mundane origins serve to enhance her heroism and Force skill, as she has become a noble hero through effort and spirit, rather than some inherited aptitude. On the other hand, I thought that the culmination of Luke's character arc was pretty tone-deaf. Luke comes to terms with having failed Kylo as a mentor and is encouraged by Yoda to learn from his failure. While Luke does redeem himself by challenging Kylo and buying the rebels enough time to escape, the notion of failure as the greatest teacher is really not comforting or fair to Kylo. Luke failed by attempting to murder Kylo, and Luke gets a vindicative happy ending as he becomes one with the Force? That resolution felt really unfair and unbalanced to me. Many people have criticized Vice Admiral Holdo's secretive attitude, arguing that it was unnecessary and generated hollow intrigue. I had no problem with it. I found Holdo to be a compelling and mildly suspicious character, and in hindsight, the fact that the First Order can track the Rebel fleet through lightspeed makes it highly sensible for Holdo to keep the Rebels' covert evacuation plan secret for as long as possible, as the First Order could be listening in. But one objection I did have about the whole retreat plot is that I don't think they ever explain how the First Order are able to track the Rebel fleet through lightspeed in the first place. The First Order do have an advanced tracking device on their flagship, but this plot point / capability essentially comes out of nowhere. How does the tracker even work? While the casino sequence was fun and visually imaginative, it was silly and somewhat out of place. A couple of moments in Finn and Rose's subplot felt rather rushed, mainly how they escaped from one scenario to another, and their implied romance was half-hearted and kind of shoehorned in. The Last Jedi is a very solid film with great performances, engaging characters, stunning visual design, and a narrative of incredible sustained suspense, but the weak character development and some sloppy plotting and pacing drag it down.
Let the past die. Kill it. If you have to.
When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
Star Wars The Last Jedi earns 3 3/4 stars out of 5. Thanks for watching. Cheers.